Looking at our world from a theological perspective. This is the Theology Central Podcast, making theology central.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is Friday, May the 10th, 2024. It is currently 4:58 p.m. Central Time, and I am coming to you live from the Theology Central studio, located right here in Abilene, Texas. Well, I thought it was a simple idea. I really did. First, the first part of the idea is something that we're all supposed to be doing this year, right? I grab my iPad, you grab your mobile device, you open up the Sermons 2.0 app, and you grab a random sermon. All right, so that part was simple. That part stayed true to what I've been trying to get everyone to do all year. And I did that. I opened up my iPad, I looked for a random sermon, and the next thing you know, I was looking at a sermon entitled, Are the Seven Thunders Written in the Scriptures? Are the Seven Thunders Written in the Scriptures? I'm like, well, that sounds interesting. Hit play. Right? Maybe I looked at the title too long, but the title immediately caught my eye and I hit play. As I played at the first part, it talks about Greek class, okay? And then he mentions this idea of thorns. In fact, he reads from 2 Corinthians chapter 12. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, where we read this verse. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 7. And lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh. And as soon as he started mentioning the thorns, I was like, oh, I could take this. I could call this Thorns and Thunder. Thorns and thunders, thorns and thunder, thorns and thunder. Okay, I could do something with this, right? This could be like a sermon review. I could break this into parts for a couple of episodes of today's focus. I could do this as a devotional, right? Because he's talking about thorns and he's offering kind of a unique idea. We could probably do something with that. And then he's going to talk about these seven thunders. Okay, what is he going to do with that? What direction is he going to go there? I could really take this apart, and this could lead to who knows how many different little small messages. So I'm like, okay, let's do something with this, right? So my idea was simple, all right? My head's been hurting. I haven't had that clarity of thought. I know what I'll do this morning. I'll grab that message on the seven thunders written in Scripture. As many of you know, I have, neurological issues and seizure disorder. So I was just like, my head not in the best place. And I'm like, I'll grab that and I'll just take the first part where he mentions thorns and it'll be something simple. I can do it as a today's focus. Hey guys, today I want you to focus on this idea of thorns. This is kind of his approach. What should your approach be? Go, right? That's your today's focus. 15 minutes. Well, it turned into 45, 46, 50 minutes long. And I started just like in kind of real time, I started working through the concept based on what the person in the sermon, what he was trying to do. And then like, so can you do that? What should we do? And I just kept talking through it. Probably talked about it much longer than maybe anyone wanted me to talk about. It ended up almost 50 minutes long. And I kind of gave everyone kind of an assignment. Hey, look up all of the passages about thorns. And I kind of gave it to you more like in a hermeneutical way. Go through all the passage about thorns and just try to start asking yourself, can we apply this? Can we not apply this? Kind of just started, just kind of threw out the general idea. Well, when I got done with the message, I was kind of like, man, that was supposed to be so simple. I thought that wasn't really good. And by the end of it, I kind of started looking at, I don't know if the way he was, he was just trying to use it as a quick illustration to kind of justify what he was going to do with these seven thunders that are mentioned in the book of Revelation. So he was kind of just setting up kind of a hermeneutical basis or justification for what he was going to do with the seven thunders. All right, now, maybe not. We could get into that. But by the time I ended that message, after working through some of the concepts, I started thinking, you know what? The way he stated it, I think it may be problematic. But it definitely appears, after just looking at some of the scriptures during that live broadcast, maybe we should be able to do something with all the times thorns are mentioned in the Bible. They're mentioned thorns are mentioned in 47 verses in the King James Version of the Bible. 47 verses in the King James. So they're mentioned 47 times. How many of them are just going to be like speaking of actual thorns and there's nothing more we can do with it? And then I started thinking, I wonder how many times that they're mentioning actual thorns, like, actual physical thorns, but maybe they're serving somewhat as a deeper spiritual picture. Okay, maybe the way he explained it is not perfect, but maybe there is something there, right? And that's one of the reasons you listen to so many different sermons, is because you get challenged. So my initial thought was I wasn't so sure in what he was doing and if we should apply it. But then after much more consideration, I'm like, I think there's something here. So after all of these hours, here I am, 5 p.m. on a Friday. I'm thinking about Sunday, and now all I can think of, I'm supposed to be thinking about Galatians 5:22 through 26. I'm supposed to be thinking about, continuing our work on our series in eschatology. Okay, I don't know. Do we do any more work on John 15 and my new interpretation? There's a lot of things I should be thinking about. Next thing I know, you know what? We got to do something with these thorns. We have to do something, right? Because I think we kind of scratched the surface. Now, I want to get to the seven thunders. I still want to get there, but I can't just, we kind of mentioned the thorns. I just kind of threw it out there. Let's just go to the seven thunders. So now I kind of find myself in a dilemma. What do I do? And I know what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to look up every single verse that mentions thorns in the Bible, all 47 verses, and I'm going to have to spend some time in them. Now, if I'm going to have to do that, I'm not doing it alone. You're going to be doing it with me. So let me introduce you to what started as a simple idea. This is going to turn into something much more complicated. Hopefully it doesn't become convoluted. Hopefully it can serve as an actual fun study. But let me introduce to you what's going to become a series or kind of a survey on thorns. What we're going to be doing, some will be done here in the studio. Some may be done at Victory Baptist Church. In fact, starting Sunday school, those who are from Victory Baptist Church, Sunday school, there's a high probability you're going to hear me discuss this. I think we're going to start kind of a survey, and we're going to go through the Bible and look at every passage that mentions thorns, and we're going to try to just ask some questions. Okay, so what is the passage saying? Are the thorns here? Are they literal, but they're still pointing to something kind of a deeper spiritual meaning? Are they being used in a figurative, allegorical, or parabolic way? What do we do with it? And how are they applicable to us? And I think it could be, put it this way, it should be interesting. Right? It should be fun. And again, that's why we listen to sermons. See, even in a sermon where I may even be going like, I'm not sure I agree. I still can stop and then take what they've done and then do something with it. Now, I don't know if I would even disagree with the sermon that we're hearing, just the way he was kind of connecting the thorns in 2 Corinthians, the thorn mentioned in 2 Corinthians 12 with kind of all of the other mention of thorns. I'm not so sure about that. Now, I do agree that if you take the concept of thorn or thorns in 2 Corinthians 12, and you take the time to go look at the rest of the Bible, the concepts about thorns can be expanded. How that connects to 2 Corinthians 12. Now, there we could have a hermeneutical debate. So I could look at here at 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Let me read it to you again. 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Verse 7, obviously we believe this is referring to Paul, unless I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan, to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. Now, this is not an actual physical thorn. The thorn in the flesh represents something that's causing some kind of pain, some kind of suffering. It's some kind of, difficulty, struggle. It's not just like if you had a thorn in your skin. I don't know if you've ever had a thorn, but if you've ever had, it hurts, right? And it's painful. It's difficult. It irritates. And it's hard to focus on anything else until you can get that thorn out. Well, he's saying in some way it was given to him. Now we could get into a whole question. Who gave this to him if it's God? All right. But he gave God. I'm going to say we're going to go with God at this point. God gave Paul this thorn, a messenger from Satan to buffet him. And the purpose was to keep him from becoming arrogant, to humble him. Now it's not an actual thorn, but the thorn represents some kind of suffering, something in his body. Some think it's his eyesight. We don't know exactly what it is, and he leaves it open. Now, once he leaves it open, then preachers can come along, and then we can take this and say, well, this could be your thorn, or this, and then we start applying it to us. We forget Paul. Paul had one. Too bad for Paul. Now, guys, let's try to figure out what our thorns are. And then that's where it can become very subjective. Now, his argument was, go look at the rest of the Bible, and then you can figure out what your thorn is. But again, we have to be careful there. So at least it got me thinking. It got me contemplating. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start a survey. Now, I'm not going to do a lot right now. I'm just going to kind of get you started, and we'll do a little bit more. The goal here is just to kind of introduce you to this concept. So the first thing you need to do is I'll just kind of walk through this. We're going to kind of use some modified Bible study methods here, right? The first thing you need to do is you need to make a list. Now, I know people hate doing this, right? It's so difficult to get people to do it this way because I understand with modern technology, you can just look up thorns, and then you can say, well, I've got the list right here. But you want to grab each one and write it on paper. I think the very first one is Genesis 3:18. You want to write it on paper. Genesis 3:18. I believe that's the first reference. Genesis 3:18, 17, 18. I think it's 18. You want to write it on paper, right? And you want to look it up, read it, write it on paper. Go to the next one. Look it up, read it, write it on paper. Look it up. And I really want, and I know so many people will not do it that way. I understand. You're like, why? I can just look it up on the app. It'll give me the list. I know you can. But it's the looking it up, the reading it, and writing down the reference that, one, it gets you into the text. You actually read the entire text. You're not just skimming it, hopefully. And you're writing down the reference. And this repetition, this writing, this looking, this reading, this is all that gets it into you a little bit more. I mean, the goal of Bible study is to actually learn something, right? It's not just to like, oh, I finished it. No, the goal is I learned something in it. It's not like how quickly can I get to the finish line so I get the gold star. No, the key is I don't even care if you ever make it to the finish line as long as you're learning something, okay? So look it up, write it down. Right? And I want you to just gather all of them. Now, as you do this the first time, you may look at some passages and you may just draw the conclusion. This is just talking that there were actual physical thorns there. There's nothing, I don't think there's any spiritual, nothing there. And you may then put a little X next to that reference, an X. Now, once you've gone through your list, and then what you will do is create a second list. All right. This time, look up the reference, read it, and then write it down and exclude the ones that have an X next to it. All right. I don't know how many you will eliminate, but then and you're going to say, you want me to look them up and read them again? Yes. Why? Because then these will get the verses really into your mind. And this is another way by reading them again, you can go, well, wait a minute. I thought there was something here. Maybe now, and then maybe you decide to go ahead and eliminate it. But then you'll have your second list, which now will have all the ones you think you've eliminated, that there's really nothing here. It's just telling you that they went by this area and there were thorns and there's no spiritual picture. There's nothing you really can do with it. It's not like it's just giving you basic facts. In other words, it's a very descriptive passage laying out information about the area in which something is taking place. It's not really doing anything. And if you feel that if that's the case, then of course you'll exit that out. Your next list then will have those excluded from it. Okay, then once you've done that, you go back to the first one, you read it, and then you just start working on it. What is this trying to say about thorns in its context? Is there a spiritual picture here? And what can I learn from it? All right. So the first one, I'm just going to show you how this is going to work. And I did this a little in the last broadcast. I did a little bit of this, but I'm going to go to the Blue Letter Bible app. I'm going to type in thorns. And the first one is Genesis 3:18. All right. Now, what I would do is I would set down the Bible app. This is how I would do it. I would grab an actual physical Bible and I would open it up to Genesis chapter 3. All right. Genesis chapter 3. Now, by this point, you would already have your list, so you wouldn't have to look it up in the app again. Or you would already have your list because you've already looked it up, read it, written it down. Then you've looked up each one and written it down a second time, excluding the ones that you've already now marked off. So then you would go to Genesis chapter 3. Now, if I go to Genesis chapter 3, the first thing I need to do is establish context. So at this point on my paper, I would have, after I've got my list, now I would really start my survey, right? So you make a list. You kind of edit your list, you reduce your list, then you start your survey. Number 1, Genesis chapter 3, verse 18. And then the first thing you may want to write down is context. What is the context? The context is the fall of man. Adam and Eve partake of the fruit that they are not to partake of. God is laying down their judgment that's going to happen upon them, and he's laying down everything that's going to occur. And if you look at Genesis chapter 3, verse 17, this really gets us into where we're going. Genesis chapter 3, verse 17, and unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake, and sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Now, the context here is the ground is going to be cursed. I think it's fair to say the earth is going to be cursed. Verse 18, thorns. There's the first reference. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. The thorns and thistles here are the proof of the earth being cursed. Now it's not going to be a beautiful garden. Now it's going to be a cursed earth, and there's going to be thorns and there's going to be thistles, and you're going to have to work to be able to produce. You're going to have to deal with all of the negative consequences of these thorns and thistles. You may have to remove them. They may hurt things growing. This may be difficult. They may be painful, and trying to remove them, trying to keep them away from the things you're growing so that you can have food and you can have nourishment. So immediately what we can see here is the very first use of thorns. Thorns clearly are the physical, real proof of the spiritual curse placed upon the earth. Creation has been cursed, and thorns is one of the proofs. It's a tangible proof. It's a real proof. You can say, well, God cursed the ground. Yeah, so what does that mean? Well, go outside and look. Are there any thorns in your area? Are there any thorns anywhere near you? Anywhere. Now, I don't know where you live. I live here in West Texas. There's plenty of thorns in West Texas, depending on where you are. There's been plenty of times I've been outside and ended up with a thorn that went through my shoe into my foot, okay? Too many times growing up, okay? Or thorns in my motorcycle tires. My dirt bike would have thorns in it and sometimes cause problems. Thorns definitely are present, and there's cactuses as well. Those are no fun. No fun. Those, you get those in, oh man, trying to get them out of yourself. Okay, no fun. I can talk about, that's why outside is you know why outside is bad? That's why I don't like outside, because outside is cursed. It is cursed. So the first use of thorns is thorns are the physical evidence that God God, whom we cannot see, has cursed the ground, which demonstrates something is wrong. Forgive me, before you even look at yourself, you can look to the earth, and I know a lot of people say, I look to the earth and I see the beauty and the majesty of God. Well, you should also see the curse of sin. The earth is cursed. It is under the curse because of the fall. Adam and Eve brought sin into the world, and sin brought a curse upon the very ground, upon the very earth. So then guess what you should do on this one? You should begin to look up cross-references of any scriptures that would confirm or add to the fact or give more additional information about the earth being cursed. Now, I think the idea that the earth is cursed or anything going down or anything bad in the earth, I think there are a number of passages when God is upset with his people, the earth is cursed, because it can demonstrate in a very visible, powerful, real way. So we could look for some additional scriptures on this, right? I don't want to get too far into this one, but we'll just work this one a little bit so that you can see how this plays itself out. For example, if we wanted a cross-reference, we could go to Romans chapter 8. We could go to Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8, verse 20. Romans chapter 8. All right, Romans chapter 8. Oh, there's a lot we could speak of here, but I think you'll get the basic idea. Romans chapter 8, we'll start in verse 18. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God. For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who hath subject the same in hope. Oh, there's a lot going on in verse 20, but watch this, verse 21. All right. Oh, there's a lot we could say about verse 20. Verse 21. Because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God. For we knoweth that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. All of creation groans. All of creation groans. It's under a curse. As one commentary put it, the Apostle Paul writes that creation was subject to frustration and decay because of human sin. Creation groans in anticipation of its redemption along with humanity, highlighted the interconnectedness of all created beings. But the bottom line is all of creation groans. And Genesis 3:18, the visible manifestation of the fall of the results of the fall is right there in thorns and thistles. Like, there's no question. Hey, God is pronouncing these spiritual judgments upon them. Well, okay, you may not see it yet, but you're going to see it immediately in creation. Immediately in creation. Once you're put out of this garden, you're going to see what you're going to see, and it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be like this beautiful garden where all of your needs were met. Everything was there. Now it's going to take work and sweat of the brow, and you're going to have thorns and thistles and these things that create pain and these things that hurt the ability for you to grow the crops and the fruits and the things that you need. Thorns, first of all, represent the results of the fall, the curse upon creation. So what you can immediately do is start looking for any cross-references that you think would offer assistance here. I think that Romans one is a good one. All right? I just throw out some different things. After Adam and Eve sinned, God pronounced a curse on the ground itself. He said to Adam, "Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil, you will eat food from it all the days of your life." This curse introduced hardship, labor, and struggle in agriculture and farming. Thorns and thistles emerge, making cultivation more difficult. The thorns are there to cause difficulty, pain, frustration. The fall disrupted the harmony of the natural world. Prior to sin, everything was in perfect balance. However, after the fall, natural disasters such as earthquakes, floods, storms became a part of the fallen creation. These events caused destruction, loss of life, and suffering. Well, we see natural disruptions all the time. We're having one of the largest tornado outbreaks. I can't remember I would have to look at how many years, but it's one of the largest in a very long time. Why is that? Because we live in a cursed world. Guess what? We have natural disasters. We have floods. We have famine. We have tornadoes, hurricanes, you name it, because of the fall. It's a result of the fall. And the thorns are just one of those reminders. We have death and decay. Not only did human mortality began after the fall, but the entire creation also experienced decay. Animals, plants, and ecosystems now face death and deterioration. The Apostle Paul describes the cosmic groaning in Romans chapter 8, verses 20 through 21, which we've already read. And all of these systems, everything there's death and there is decay. Because the fall, those thorns and thistles represent that in a tangible way. Those were real thorns. They serve as a deeper spiritual picture they serve as a proof of the fall. The fall can say, well, they sinned, and okay, well, there's a spiritual element to that maybe you cannot completely perceive its reality, but you can see the reality of a thorn, which tells you something is wrong in the world. It's cursed. So the first use of thorns tells you something. It's something tangible. People may not want to see that. Look, I think we can see the results of the fall all throughout the earth. But that's just a small, actual, physical representation of it. You see that? That hurts. That's proof of it. So you'll want to find the cross references. The first use of thorns are real evidence of the curse of the earth because of the fall. It's tangible, it's real, it's physical. It symbolizes, in a very real way. I don't even know if I like the word symbolizes. It is the physical proof of a spiritual reality. The earth is cursed. Okay? I can't necessarily see that. Oh, but you can see it. Go find the thorns. There's the evidence. There's the proof. Now, there's probably other cross references. I looked up some, I used different things trying to find cross references. Some of the cross references I was led to, I'm not a big fan of some of them because they'll talk about thorn, or not necessarily thorns. They'll talk about desolation or how the area was just desolate and barren. And they'll say, well, see, this is like the curse of the fall on the, no. And some of those passages, it's not dealing with the curse of the fall on the land. It's showing that God once again punishes, or sometimes because of, especially in Israel's case, their unfaithfulness led to a barren land and unfruitful and everything is horrible. Everything's burnt. There's nothing there for them because that was a part of their ongoing curse. So in other words, God used thorns, thistles, famine, desolation, barrenness of the land many times to prove that they were cursed. So he uses the concept many times, but all we really need is just to demonstrate that the earth is cursed because of the fall. You say, well, there's still some beauty there. I'm not denying the beauty. I'm not denying the beauty there. That's more of, maybe you could call that God's common grace, that he left any beauty at all. He could have just made it almost barren and desolate, but there are some very barren, desolate parts of the earth as well. And for wherever there's beauty, right? I mean, I often make the joke when you're like watching nature on a 4K ultra high def Dolby Atmos television, right? It sounds good. It's beautiful, right? But if you're out in it, immediately the ugliness of nature is there. If you're paying it, ow, mosquito. Ow, what's that? What's that? What's that? Oh, what's that? Oh, man, it's 157 degree. Oh, it's freezing. Wait, what's this? What's that? Oh, be careful. There's a bear that's going to try to kill us. Wait, what's that? Oh, no, there's an insect. Oh, no, what is that? That could kill. Oh, wait, be careful. You don't have a tick. You could end up with some kind of disease. Oh, be careful. Just forget it. Everything out. Forever. You can look at the beauty for 5 seconds and 15 seconds later, you're worried about whether you've been bitten by something. Oh, that has rabies. Wait, that has this disease. Oh, wait, what? Oh, that. No, that. Everything is out there that's trying to take away from the beauty because there's proof all around you of it. Now, some people that, I just love nature. It's so beautiful. But then they all talk about how this almost killed them or this was bad or this happened or this happened or this happened or someone got bit by this or someone got scratched by this or someone fell and this and that. Well, all of that around you is screaming that in the midst of that beauty is the never-ending proof of the fall, of the curse. The first use of thorns screams to us a curse. Thorns say curse. The earth has been cursed. It lays under condemnation. That's why there's going to have to be a new heaven and a new earth. Right? So thorns start off here, something negative, something painful. And I think God uses that frequently. So you can see how many cross references you think fit there. But there's your first one. There's your first reference. I kind of did the work for you there. I did the work for you. All right? And maybe we'll just do this work here. Maybe we'll do some at church. I don't know. But I think this one at least establishes the where to start. So you make your list, right? Make sure you look it up, read the passage, write it down, right? Then you go through you look up each, then you go through the then you basically consider which ones you're going to eliminate. Then once you eliminate it, you go back, read, write down the reference to make your second list, excluding those that you know no longer belong. Then you start your survey. Now, I've already kind of started the survey for you, but I really want you to go and look each one up and read it. Look it up, read it, write it down. Now, as you go through that first time, you may go, I don't think this count. I don't think this count. If you're not sure, write a question mark. Then the second time, you're going to look them up, read them. Now, at that time, you may decide the question ones move to, I'm not going to put this there. And then you'll write down that final list of all the references about thorns that you think fit, that make some kind of sense. You think they work. Then you start your survey. And I've already done the first one for you. Clearly, thorns in Genesis 3:18 represent. I don't even like the word. They are the tangible physical proof of the God's curse of the earth as a result of the fall. Now, the second one, I'm not going to do any work for this one for you. The second one is Exodus 22. I'm not going to do too much work here. Exodus 22. Exodus 22, verse 1, if a man shall steal an ox, so it's talking about stealing and what the punishment should be, right? Then verse 5, if a man shall cause a field or vineyard to be eaten and shall put in his beast and shall feed another man's field of the beast of his own field and of the beast of his own vineyard, shall he make restitution? If fire breaks out and catch in thorns, so that the stacks of corn or the standing corn or the field that consume therewith, he that kindled the fire shall surely make restitution. In other words, you start a fire and it burns someone else's stuff down, you got to make restitution. There, the thorns don't have some great spiritual picture there. That's just simple, pretty straightforward. Then you go to Numbers Numbers 33. Numbers 33, verse 55. But if you will not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then it shall come to pass that those which you let remain of them shall be pricks in your eyes and thorns in your sides. Now here, God is giving Israel specific direction when they go into the land, what they are to do. And there's some people they are to completely drive out of the land. But if they don't, these people are going to be thorns. The thorns here are going to represent those things. In this case, the people, God tells them to get out, that these things are going to become thorns. So then if we want to draw a spiritual picture, anything God says get rid of, if you don't get rid of it, it will become a thorn in your life. Now, you can find, I don't know what cross-references you want there. You could probably start your cross-referencing right there. There's a lot of directions you go. I don't want to do any more for you. Now, I don't know how many of these are going to work, right? The first one seems to work really well. The second one doesn't do much, right? So we could already remove the second one. So if you're starting to make your list, you can already remove Exodus 22:6. See how quickly that was? So now the third one, Numbers 33:55, you definitely don't want to remove that one. That one, there's a lot you could do with it. All right. I'll stop there. This introduces us to our survey of thorns. It all started with a simple idea. Hey, just kind of throw this concept. Hey, this person talked about thorns. Do you think that's the right way to apply it? It's supposed to be a little 15-minute thing that went almost 50 minutes. Now it's turned into a series. But hey, that's okay. We'll follow it. Maybe by the time we're done, you're going to be like, that was a waste of time. Or maybe by the time you're done, you're like, whoa, that's interesting. Or maybe you're going to be indifferent. I don't know maybe you're going to feel like that this entire series became a thorn in your flesh. Well, then maybe it will be for a reason. Okay. Maybe there'll be something positive in it. I don't know where it's going to lead. But there's plenty there to consider. All right. Now you can email me your thoughts. newsif@yahoo.com. newsif@yahoo.com. That's newsif@yahoo.com. All right. The weekend starts. If you have some extra time, get everyone around the table, get notebooks, start looking up verses on thorns and see what you find. All right. See what you discover. You can make it a little project. You can make it fun. Hopefully you can make it educational. Most importantly, it's spiritually beneficial. That's hopefully the end result. All right. Thank you for listening. Everyone have a great weekend. God bless.